Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We have another ranked game for you guys today. This was maybe a day or two after the previous against Professor X, and I'm playing against Quicksilver, and you've seen me play against him before, I'm sure, many a time. Quicksilver and I hang out quite often and play a lot of friendlies and unfriendlies, I'm sure, as well. But this was ranked. Neither one of us knew that the other person was queuing, and we just sort of happened to go against each other here. Now, Quicksilver, I was aware that he was being backseated in this game by none other than Blitz-War himself, so I did know that was coming. Wasn't sure how it was going to go, but did know that was coming. So I'm going for a bit of a greedy 3CV cap here. So Bravo, Echo, Foxtrot, going to try to get quite a lot of tick early on, and my opener into the right-hand side is a little bit not ideal. So I have Shaitet in the Hammer, Safai, Siphon, and Maglan in the Anyafa, and this is very similar to the Siphon, Safai, Anyafa that to what I had done against Professor X, and I was just trying to see if maybe it'll work better this time. Maybe it's just always a bad idea on this map. Maybe it's sometimes a good idea, sometimes a bad idea. I wasn't really sure, but we do get a nice pickup here against the Lynx AH7 that was probably looking to drop off some recon infantry there as well, and you know, I felt alright with that. I mean, on this side, Maglan are up pretty far forward. There's just some militia here, but they can kill a TGB, and we're going to be getting a Tiran 5 Blazer and also some Shaitet moving forward on that side, just to make sure that, because now this is evident that it's Moto, that I don't get sort of low density gameplay here, which is very scary, and this is terrifying, honestly. Like, this many Rover Wombats, NM45s, everything like that coming right down the pipe at me, and my Maglan are not going to be able to stop it. In fact, they're probably going to die horribly without doing all that much of anything at all. I mean, goodness gracious, right? Like, they're gonna, yep, 4, 3, 2, 1, yeah, we got, well, no, that was the Anyafa blowing up, jeez. So, Shaitet here trying to get into the building blocks, but even they're not going to be able to hold, and I really didn't know what to do at this point in the match. So, yes, I'm ticking +2, but this 3B, like, it's going to outclass anything that Quicksilver's Moto deck can bring to the field individually, but how do I deal with just losing all of these town blocks right away, right? Like, that seems a little bit tricky. I have some militia, and you know, losing the Safai there as well is not great. I should have known there was a Kratal. I should have kept that helicopter back here, able to use its rocket pods against infantry later on, because Gurkhas are just, they're a weight class above Shaitet when it comes to anti-infantry. They have a mini-me, they have a lot more strength, 30 strength there compared to the, well, originally 20 on my Shaitet, but we do get a couple of nice picks. So the 3B is just one hit killing everything it shoots at, and that is pretty nice. I want to keep it alive as we have it smoked, expecting things like a Kurnos or an early plane game, potentially an option when the Moto deck you're playing against gets this much forward progress, and it might not look like much, but this is a lot, especially because here we are, AMX-10 RC right here, Tiran 5 bot to sort of make sure I had vision on that side is not going to be enough, and my Magok 7C Gimel is not going to want to do that alone either. So at this point, Alpha, you know, compare this to when I pushed Professor X in the last video, I had a couple of things here. Quicksilver is into the town. He's killed my stuff in the town. He's through here into this section, pressuring into my +1 and Bravo. It's just such an aggressive opener compared to what I did, I mean, the last game. It's just very, very, very quick, very aggressive, and I mean, if I don't deal with it quickly, I just lose, right? That is always the worry when you're playing against motorized decks, but in this particular case, because Nuclear Winter is coming is so swingy in the opener and such a big map, at least until things get settled out, it really was a big concern. So this is a nice pickup against this Falscom Yagri. My Magok is just sitting here in a really dangerous place. If there's any high AT infantry here, this guy is going to just absolutely get wrecked. But he was sitting there in part to make sure that nothing got through, because if Quicksilver got infantry into here, let alone some like Gurkhas, I would just lose the game at that point. There really wouldn't be anything to do for it. It would just be, yeah, we're done. Right there. Done and dusted. So I was trying to go after the Cactus a little bit. We're just taking as smart engagements as I can here to kill things like Rover Wombats, get incremental value against Quicksilver, try to prevent him from getting away for free here, and yeah, this is why a tank in the woods without vision is very much a risky thing. But there, we lose a Siphon, and I'm going for it, because seeing those recon infantry come this way, I thought, well, maybe there's a chance that I can go over and get some good work done here. And I do have infantry now coming out to deal with those guys. They're not going to be able to deal with this many Zeldas. I mean, look at that. There's 12 guns off the Zeldas just shooting at these guys right off the bat. And we have another Magog, we have Rovite. And I was very happy with the double 100-point tank here. And this was not great. So I should have had infantry up here to begin with. And with IFE support, we could have probably dealt with a Stormer, at least not let them get away for free and get nice incremental value on me there. That's the sort of thing that you definitely do want to avoid. And then I don't have enough anti-air either, so very aware of that at the moment and trying to do something with it. But, I mean, geez, like, if I bought anti-air for here, then I wouldn't have had the bodies I needed over on this side. Maybe if I hadn't gotten the second tank, but then I wouldn't have something to necessarily stop this lane as well, because there are multiple lanes that Quicksilver can proceed to attack from. He can go this way, he can go that way, he can have his Kratal kill a second recon. Helicopter, oh my goodness. I could not keep my recon alive. This is one of the things I've been having a bit of trouble with getting back into ranked, and especially using different decks. Like, when I use Scandi Mech, I have very cost-effective recon that I can easily put with my front line, because, well, 741A1s, you buy two, they can kill things, they can go everywhere, they have a little bit of armor. Not the most autonomy, but they're cheap and they're capable. And that, I think, is a little bit of a crutch. I mean, I'm sure some of you guys will say, well, yeah, mech is a crutch, and a crush for me. But if mech is a crutch, then yeah, of course, it's going to be more difficult to do things like that and unspec, and that's why, you know, mech monkey, all this sort of thing. No, I don't think that's necessarily the case, because Landjut has the same sort of recon. There are ways to have that. I mean, Landjut and Scandi, right? Everything that gets access to the M41A1. So I don't think that's necessarily the whole picture. But it certainly is something that I was struggling with for Israel. I struggle with it with USSR as well. Decks where you don't really have cheap options, it can be very difficult. So, plane circling, unclear quite what that is, but we do have a Machbat coming up, and I turned off the Vulcan. It's an ASF, and I think that's an ASF, right? Should be. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, block 15, there we go. One of my favorite ASFs. I mean, Scandi gets it, so of course it is. And now, actually, Quicksilver's taking +2. So we were up 96 points to 0, but because there's so much pressure here, and Quicksilver knows that I'm just not in this town at all, he's gonna try and turn the tables here, right? In that early tick, just like we mentioned in yesterday's video, like it can mean a lot on this map, and it can also mean nothing, because how am I supposed to cap alpha to deal with this, right? I can't, not really. And as long as I'm not, then it doesn't really matter if I have 96-point lead. 30 minutes, 32 minutes at +2, he wins the game several times over, right? This is 300 points every 10 minutes. So it's more than he needs. And basically this puts a timer on me. I have about 10 minutes in which to retake and cap alpha, or I just lose the game, pretty much. I mean, at that point, it would become nigh unrecoverable, especially given how Delta looks right now, where yeah, there's infantry in Delta that I don't really have the tools to deal with. Gurkha's here mopping up my Rovite, and that's going to be a very common story. So I need to keep my militia alive, I need to keep my infantry alive, I need to use these tanks to get good value, and I need to not let things get taken out by planes, bombers, anything like that. Now, we do have the first Mar 290 coming out. I love this arty piece. It is just phenomenal. I think any Israel unspec deck that doesn't take the Mar 290, even if you're taking the LAR 160 in its place, it's too good. You need it. It's just too good. Alright, like it will stun, it will kill, it will clear the path for you a lot more than you might think. Man, I should have fired at this. Look at that. That thing's low hovered. I have a Magok right here. We could have seen it, could have shot it, could have killed the Panther. Didn't kill the Panther, but we will get it now. And I think that was the second Panther that Machbat killed, so yeah, I mean, we lost it 60 points to 70, 65 points lost for me, 70 points lost for Quicksilver there is not the best trade, but it doesn't have to be necessarily. We just need to get good enough value over time. And all of those Panthers, as it turns out, were dropping off Commando Marine. Very good infantry, but there are 35 points. They need to get a lot of kills to justify their price. And my solution to this whole thing is going to be militia backed by tanks. That's all we're going to do. It's a moto deck? Well, okay, fine. have endless militia and Magox, and if I can get enough value here, then we win, and if I can't, then we lose. But I mean, that's another 10 RC there, I believe. Let's take a look. Yep, 10 RC, 40 points right there. That's an entire block of 4 militia and Zaklam that I just paid for with one shot off of Magok 7C Gimel, and now we have a little bit of tempo as well, a little bit of pressure here, dealing with the Cactus, getting, you know, a tank back here to attempt to have a foothold in where those Commando Marine are, and that little bit of trading is just going to have me go full militia on this. We're just going to get 8 of them, we're going to go right across into Alpha. I have a 3B that has a frag launcher, I have a 7C Gimel, we have the firepower we need, and right now, always keep in mind, you should be thinking about what your opponent is dealing with, what your opponent is seeing, what your opponent is likely trying to do, and if I were Quicksilver right now, I'd be trying to stop this bleed as quickly as possible, whether that's by using a Kurnos, whether that's by buying Moto stuff to go back in. Don't know what it's going to be, but that's what I would be doing right then and there, no questions asked. So we pick up a Verkenning, that's going to be another 65-point kill off the Magok 7C Gimel, so 105 points of kills right there, and the Mar 290 couldn't have asked for better timing, could have asked for better follow-up. So with the stun, with the panic, that 7C Gimel could have come in here and just gotten a kill on the Commando Marine, a kill on that Verkenning, no problem, no questions asked. So a little bit of missed coordination there. I mean, yeah, it was nice to get the stuns, but on their own, that's not the end of the world for Quicksilver, unless I can follow up. So another stun, FB is really, really good. I know people love the Vulcan. I tend to look at this as sort of a side grade of the Cobra, but I mean, just look at how much one 100-point tank, one medium tank can do against this sort of thing. So block 15 going for a bit of aggressive dive here, looking for that Cepha, misses and flies right over Machbet. Oh man. Yeah, that nearly got out too. That last little bit before he would have been off the screen, but that's another 115 points. So this trading has gone very, very well for me over the course of the last couple of minutes. But remember, I said I had that 10-minute timer. About half of it has been spent. I need to get into Alpha now. We need to clear out all of these buildings, and all of those buildings are going to have infantry, they're going to have ATGMs, they're going to have things that I do not want to deal with. Not today, not tomorrow, not any time at all. And if I don't kill them, then even with all that bad trading, it's a game of conquest. Quicksilver will win that. Especially if I, keep doing things like moving my 3B up just to get it smacked a little bit. But here's the issue, like Commando Marine, they have an LRAC, and all these ATGMs, yeah, they're getting a little bit of value. But, I mean, 35 points for the Commando Marine, right? I think it's not necessarily the right tool for the job when you're dealing with a deck like Israel that will just throw this at you. And yeah, box lives matter, and I'm not preserving them well enough here, but I mean, look at this, just weight of numbers, and we'll get some return, and it's clearing the way for Rovite to come up in Zeldas. Now I have 4 Rovite here in Zeldas with 3 guns instead of the Zaklam's single M2 Browning. That's going to be even more difficult to deal with. Mar 290 coming in, trying to get kills there, trying to get stuns, and 2 more Panthers. These guys are expensive. They're up vet. Those were definitely carrying Commando Marine. The first 2 might have been from CBs, by the way, so I'm not entirely certain. But these guys, just off the veterancy, I would expect those to have been carrying Commando Marine. So we do have a Machbet. I'm trying to get a Draken as well. And I have an Oxidate Pikud coming out because we're always thinking about the timing there. This thing will take a little bit to get up and in. And this is a little risky. And so I don't normally do this, but against Moto, when I feel this behind on board position, it's sort of a must. And this was actually really cool, so check this out. Miliuim right here, Merkava 3B with that Mark 19, and we are damaged, and this is Gurkhas, but this engagement works for one particular reason. These Gurkhas were attack moved, and this group is back here, dealing with militia. This group on the right is farther forward. We're going to deal with these guys not both at once, where that Law 80 might actually be able to kill the 3B, but we're going to deal with them one after the other. So we get a stun on the first. And yeah, it landed a hit, it dealt a single point of damage, but we brought this down to just 1 Gurkha, and now we can deal with it right there as well. So, yeah, I mean, 1 hit, we get the stun. Even if he gets another hit, I'm fine. And he does. Now I'm actually worried a little bit, but again, the Mark 19 makes this an infantry shredder. So the fact that those Gurkhas were attack moved there instead of being actively microed and kept together, not dealing with those militia, is what let me get the kill there. And these guys are expensive, so Quicksilver cannot afford to be losing this many good infantry one after the other after the other. And now that we have a cap, we've really stopped the bleed. So 216 points to 96. This is where that early, tick from Foxtrot is going to be a little bit handy, because yeah, that's a counter cap. And I believe when that happened, I thought it was a little greedy, because yeah, it's trying to solidify this lead. Imagine if I hadn't capped. He'd be ticking at a +4. That's 60 points a minute. 60. He'd win in less than 10 minutes. And there's just be nothing I can do about it. So I like it from that perspective, but the reason I say it's greedy is because of losing those Gurkhas. It's because of losing this position and a couple of Kennings and a 10 RC and things like that. It's been very brutal for the Blue 4 team this particular game. Now that is a Kurnos. One missile coming over, curving in midair and hitting the Magok, but at least we do kill it. So I don't know what missile pathing that was. That was the most curve I've ever seen on it. I think he was going after the 3B, but losing that as well to 150 points, that's a minute and a half of no reinforcements coming in here to help out with Alpha. And I do need to push now, right? So these Rovite are going to be moving forward. I have Shiatet. Bad as they are comparatively anti-infantry, it's the best I got, right? So we're going to be trying to use these to deal with these Commando Marine. I should have been engaging with the Rovite first, but even just the Zeldas here, I mean, if not rescued by Gurkhas, I think the Zelda and Rovite would have been able to deal with that pretty well. And so Mar-290 just coming in, this is where I'm going. We're going to stun everything in it. We're going to get a couple of kills. We have Shiatet moving forward, Miluim moving up, and I probably should have had another tank coming out by now, but I'm not entirely certain about that. And this is actually something. So Gavarman here with 10-point transports. Each one of those 10-point transports paid for both the militia, and they killed both. So I'm fine with that. It's not amazing to lose that forward position there in Bravo, but honestly, worthwhile. And you can see the impact this is having as the game goes on too, right? Gurkhas just being outnumbered, the Panther there going down to a Machbet, the Kurnos no longer an option. I mean, yeah, there's maybe one more, but that last Kurnos is another 150 point buy, and it only got 100 points of value on the first pass, and it was only a one-pass thing, so he knows I have anti-air. It's not going to be an easily picked tool, and Rovite, just weight of numbers against Gurkhas, will get there eventually, right? And this is something where he can either have capped in the woods, or he could have capped here, but not really here, because the fact that he knows I have some units in this section of woods by Delta means that capping this far over is pretty unsafe. So I figured we get the Shiatet moving, and we're either going to find them right here, or we're going to find that they're right there, and we're going to Mar-290 whatever spot we find there, and that'll be that. And I think he's moving actually now, trying to run away a little bit, but it's a little bit too little too late. So Shiatet actually able to deal with those Commando Marine. We have mortars here helping them deal with the Gurkhas, and that sort of integrated support I think is necessary for some decks where it's only good for others, and I think Israel is one that does need it, just because the Shiatet do struggle that much. And you saw the effect too, right? I mean, I have a couple of Laishas out here. Yeah, it's a lot of points. It's 90 points in Laishas in that triple stack, but it kept my Shiatet alive. That's a pretty decent return. It made that fight winnable at the cost of a Shiatet, maybe, to just winnable and not even losing that much strength. So at this point we have the Mar-290 coming in. I think I actually killed his CV with the Shiatet back here. It was infantry. And now with 21 minutes left and feeling very good about trading, my job is to get into Charlie or to get into India. Now I've tried to do that a little bit. I have Shiatet moving over this way, but it's sort of a long shot to do just these. I was hoping maybe he had an infantry CV back here, but the hope was mostly to find it, not necessarily to kill it with Shiatet. And I should have been pushing with both the Shiatet and Moglan at the same time, get a little bit of recon, get an idea of what's going on there, and we have 4, 8, 11 more Rovite and Zeldas coming out just to swamp this town completely. There's Gurkhas here, but it's not going to be enough. It's just not going to be enough Gurkhas. And with the 3B healing up, we're going to get that pressure piece back online soon, And I even have my own Kurnos coming out now because, you know what, two can play at that game. And yeah, maybe not necessarily evenly in terms of the tempo we can use to follow up on it, but another thing, actually, wait, here it was. Where is it? Yeah, there. I remember now. Quicksilver did actually retreat the CV, and my Tiran that went this way over into Delta killed it. So he was going to cap Delta, which would have been very nice. It's a good thing to keep your CVs alive when you can and just rotate them instead of just sitting there going, yeah, well, I'll just lose it in this position. Why do that? It costs you good points. It costs you good money. But Kurnos coming in, Rovite are now going to win this fight against Gurkhas. There's a couple of Stormer here that really just don't have too many more options going for them, and yeah, 2-point zone retaken. Maybe not cleanly, maybe not fun necessarily for me at all points in time, but yeah, very convincingly taken, I would say. Not a lot left that Quicksilver can do to get back in here. I have the 3B. 3B is going up to deal with the 103C. I have Rovite. I have just infantry out the wazoo. The best thing probably would have been to get back into here, but base Gavarman aren't really going to do it. Yeah, they could get past 6 Rovite, but this deck has a lot more than just 6 Rovite. So now I'm just trying to test the waters a little bit, see what is this far over, and keep eyes on that 103C so I can kill it with my own bigger, badder, meaner tank here. This thing did actually kill a Magok. We kind of missed it when we were looking over on the other side. Swedish S-tanks are weird, man. 15 RPM, even with lower AP. They don't do a ton at long range, but you get a little bit closer, and yeah, these things will mess you up. They really will. I mean, 16 AP, 60 accuracy, 15 RPM. So that engagement, he just shot his second 5 damage shot quicker than I did. If I'd been a little farther away, I would have survived it. Take it down to a 4 damage shot, and I'm alive on 2, and he dies. But yeah, that wasn't in the cards. So 80-point Swedish tank kills 100-point Magok, and that's that, I guess. The tail of the tape, as it were. So Shaitet not finding anything. I sort of kind of forgot about them, so they're just over there getting shot by recon infantry right now. Not my finest moment, but this also wasn't my cleanest game, so I'm hopefully going to be able to show you guys some more tidy games here soon. So, oh my goodness, it's nice to be doing this again. I'm always hoping to get more regular, but it's hard to be regular. Insert whatever joke you want into that. But, you know, we are taking a bit of a dive here. I really wanted this 103C dead for the position, and just barely not able to get into the woods, so unfortunately losing the 3B for 103C, that 103C, man, got a lot of value. On the other hand, now the road to Charlie is open, so I've intentionally taken a bad trade. Well, risked it, and then, yeah, the risk didn't pay off, but I've intentionally done that specifically to get into Charlie as quickly as possible. Now, I dropped off these Moglan here a little bit early. I was hoping they'd fire directly at the CS, instead we take out a mortar, but getting that pressure up here, and particularly like when there's M3A2 Bradleys coming in, things that are expensive and don't zone infantry all that well, and don't survive ATGMs all that well, it was an attempt to set me up really well for trading and just pressure. So actually Quicksilver's CV, as it turns out, was pretty far up, it was pretty far forward, he moved it back, and that little bit of +2 tick, I mean, it's not a ton, but it tells me that Quicksilver's worried. You don't move your CV like that unless you're really worried that it's going to have an impact soon. Now, a little bit of heartbreak for me, my mock bet was detract, so we're not able to zone out the Cobras here, otherwise that would have been really nice. But we do find a Cactus, I'm only losing Rovite, really, and yeah, Shaitet on the side of dead, by the way. But Moglan, that Negev is amazing. I swear, it really is. So actually, they just took out a Cobra. I'll take that. That Cobra, the kills it got on Rovite were not worth losing it. Not really. So we're just getting trade after trade after trade after trade after trade. Mar-290s, I do have 2 of them now, which I think I take 3 in the deck, but I only really ever use 2 at most. More than that is sort of like a win more thing, or if one gets killed, then, well, I still want 2 or something like that. But even then, that's usually not the best decision, I think. Or at least it hasn't been for me, so you can take a 3rd. But the other problem with the 3rd Mar-290 is my fob is being depleted, and if I had brought them out sooner, it would have been even more depleted, and with 3, your fob really doesn't last very long. Like, it'll last about 25 minutes of all 3 of them firing, and you know, I'm not great at math, but I think 25 is a little bit shorter than 40, so you do that, and you're not going to have them for the entire game. So, you know, maybe you get enough value off of them or you win earlier, but I don't necessarily always win all that quickly. Right, so I have way more games where I win because my opponent, sad luck, but where my opponent decided, you know what, I'm not getting back into this, and they quit, than I do where I just end the game, or where I, oh geez, yeah, this is why I should have been pushing with the Mogwon. Dead CV right there. I wish I could have shown you that missile flying, but it's always a little bit risky. This CV placement, I do love it, because it's resilient to an initial push that goes in the classic directions, either here or here, but my Mogwon didn't do that. They came right through this thick forest, got vision, got a kill. That's that. Now we're taking +2, and I have an Auxiliary Picoud already primed, ready to go into Charlie. It was bought when I thought that that was going to go a little bit more smoothly, but it's okay. We're going to get a 3B, we're going to get that forward again, and I think these guys really deal well with moto units. 21 front, M2 Browning, 10 RPM. Right, like, you don't need all that much AP power, but the 10 RPM is pretty nice. It's a small improvement over 9, sure, but even that little bit of higher DPS on something that is usually a one-hit kill, and you'll see a really big impact very, very quickly. So I really like the 3B against even mech as well. But infantry specs, I think it's a very nice pick. Against unspec, it can be a little bit of a struggle because it just doesn't have the AP power of similar sort of 155 point options. Like, I think the HC has more. I think the HC has 22 AP. So that is a little bit rough. It's not the best for peer-to-peer tank engagements against unspec. But things that can't match it, yeah, it's very, very good at punching down. I think I kind of underestimated that for a long time. So, nice to be finally using it for that purpose. Now, Gurkhas 90 are doing what I had said I was a little worried about earlier for Quicksilver getting back in. He's swept through Delta, he's getting back into the town with a lot of Gurkhas. And my only answer is militia, so I did kind of expect that a little bit. And the militia, I don't expect to win that fight, but yeah, I expect them to be able to hold while other assets hit, whether that's a plane, whether that's a helicopter, whether it's mortars. The idea here is to use the fact that this is so far past where I can safely use those supporting assets to, well, to deny, where I wouldn't otherwise be able to deny. So, meanwhile, 3B doing some nice work. We did get that 80-point Bradley, and I mean, geez, look at that. Stunned, damaged, nearly killed. They don't have, Stormer don't have the AP to deal with this. I did risk a little bit driving into it. I probably shouldn't have, but I wanted to get out of the open ground and into cover here, so that is what we do. We are now in the woods. Cepha B able to deal with these Gurkhas that are shooting at Milyuim, and you know, that's a nice play. Gurkhas against Milyuim, yeah, the Gurkhas would love that. On the other hand, they are not going to love being finished off by a Kurnos. So at this point, we also do have Panthers coming into my base, and Shahaks are probably not the best answer. I had enough time when I saw them to have bought ground AA, but I figured the Shahaks would at least one pass one of them, not like just not do that and just not get the kill. So I didn't think I'd end up buying 3 Shahaks here, and I do. So we have 1, 2, we're coming back around, and these guys, they didn't have any rocket pods in them, but I didn't know that at the time, so you can never really take that too lightly. With 11, 12 minutes left, Moto decks, I mean, if they don't suffer complete collapse anyway, they still can surprise you. So 3rd Shahak, we get the kill. He did see my fob, but it's not going to be in the world. We do also see that Humvee CP, and my Auxiliary is coming up and forward to cap Charlie, and even just the counter cap will put this game out of reach. 288 points to 208. I don't need to hold this for very long. It's a +30 tick. I need about 3.5 minutes, and then I go into a win, not even just a tie. And so that's why you see this move back forward. More than likely, he saw the Auxiliary and realized he can't give me +4 for the same reasons that I had to not give him +4 earlier on. If Quicksilver gives me a +4 tick here, it's just going to end poorly, and well, he doesn't want that clearly. So this is a little risky. It was a calculated risk. I figured that, you know, up on trading, we can maybe get away with being a little bit cheeky here. But I did want infantry there. They're coming up, but Zeldas are slow. Mechanized infantry are slow. They're durable, but they are very slow. So I don't know. This was a little worrisome. I think Stormer can actually put 4 damage on a 3v. They'd have to get lucky, but you know, it's possible. Wargame giveth, Wargame taketh away. I've had good luck previously. Now I might risk bad luck. So that's actually why we're throwing away this FAB here. I did expect it to get killed, maybe not by M3A2, but I expected it to die. I was just really hoping to delay any engagement that my 3B might have to take until I could get infantry up and forward and able to deal with it. So that was the thinking there. We have Shahaks just circling now, Mar-290s going in to fire at the known CV position. I know it's basically right here, maybe in that little bit of a tail, but double Mar-290, you have a lot of dispersion on those 15 HE rockets, especially from that far away. It is a longer range than I would usually like to have on that, and we actually have a bit of a swing and a miss. So I'm sitting there going, okay, well fine, I have a Kurnos. I'm willing to bet it's right about here because I saw it drive back into the zone, and bam, there we are. +3 only because Delta is capped, but that's not going to be enough here for my opponent as we round 9 minutes remaining and 45 points a minute. This game is going to be out of reach in 2 minutes tops. So he either decaps now and recaps, or loses. And there's just not enough left on the board. So unfortunately, a little bit of moto collapse here from Quicksilver and Blitz-War with the backseat. Just, I don't know, sometimes backseating is really hard, and it can be hard for the person playing, it can be hard for the person backseating when it's a style or a deck that they're not too familiar with. And I mean, Quicksilver and I have a lot of contentious games. We've had a lot of really dynamic wins one way or the other, and I'm sure this will be returned in time and with interest. But yeah, that's another ranked game we have for you guys. Second one with Israel on the same map, back-to-back ranked games. So I mean, not played directly the same night, but I mean, I went into ranked, I get one side of nuclear, I go into ranked, I get the other side of nuclear, both with Israel, so I thought that'd be at least a little bit interesting. And we're going to switch up the decks a little bit and have another game for you guys here real soon. So thank you all for hanging around.